Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the installment of Scott's Selections here for Saturday, October 10th. We're getting today's play of the day. A quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up picking up a loss with Louisville minus 4.5, which was available on Bet Online. Unfortunately, Louisville ended up opening up a decent first half lead, and they got absolutely smacked in the second half. Really sloppy play overall. They had a kickoff fumble. They had a fumble in plus territory on the first drive of the game. Louisville seemed to be moving the ball pretty easily early on, but then the second half came around. Georgia Tech made some adjustments, and Louisville ended up getting absolutely smacked. Looking at the actual breakdown for the game, they ended up losing the game by 19 outright, despite being favorites. Louisville ended up getting outscored in the second half by, it was a complete blowout, honestly. Louisville had no answers the entire second half. They got outscored 32-6 in the second half. So Louisville was actually up a touchdown going into the second half. It looked pretty good early on. And then after that, the wheels fell off. So anyway, that's a loss. We'll look to bounce back here on Saturday. Now, I know that overall, I wasn't really a fan of anything on the card. We already have the UFC plays that are pending on that video before. Also, the college football plays from the joint show with Scott Steen. So for that reason, we're going to be simply looking at a look-ahead line here for Sunday, and that's going to be on the French Open final between Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal. And for the play of the day, we're going to be looking at Rafael Nadal minus 1.5 games, which is available at minus 115 on DraftKings at time recording of 1:37 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, a couple reasons why I like Nadal in this spot. First of all, it's pretty obvious. Nadal's the greatest clay court player of all time. Even if you don't follow tennis, you already know that, as Nadal has been pretty much a clay god his entire career. And this year has been no different, although they ended up moving the time of the actual event in terms of months because of COVID, and now it's a lot colder in France than it normally is, and Nadal's kind of complained a little bit about the conditions. It doesn't really matter because Nadal is still the greatest clay court player of all time. And if you really want to go through how many wins in the French Open he has, it's just unreal. He has the most of all time. Nobody's even close, really, to number two. And Djokovic, despite being a pretty solid clay court player and giving Nadal some issues maybe in the past, Nadal is still 17-7 against Djokovic on clay in his career, and Nadal has also yet to drop a set in this entire tournament. Meanwhile, Djokovic is kind of entering this matchup showing a few signs of weakness. If you want to actually break down what's happened to Djokovic recently, he looked really sharp early in the tournament. He ended up losing the first set to Carreño Busta in the quarterfinals before rallying to win the next three sets 3-1. So he dropped a set there. Then he ended up facing Tsitsipas in the semis, and it looked like Djokovic was going to coast to a very easy win. Nadal ended up beating Schwartzman in straight sets, was able to leave the court relatively early, even though the rallies between the two of them took a while. But Djokovic won the first two sets 6-3, 6-2. Looked like he was going to coast to a win. And then the match actually turned into a war as Tsitsipas ended up winning the third set 7-5, the fourth set 6-4, before Djokovic ended up winning the fifth set, deciding set 6-1. So Djokovic, instead of being able to leave the court early and to save his legs, he had to play an extra 2 hours roughly, or even more than 2 hours, because Tsitsipas ended up coming back from 2 sets down to force a deciding fifth set. So Djokovic has dropped a set each of the last two matches. Nadal has just been cooking. He's been to a couple tiebreakers here and there, which isn't really an issue for the game spread, but you're looking at who Nadal has played. I will admit that the strength of schedule has not fully been there besides Schwartzman, who actually beat him on clay a couple of weeks ago before Nadal ended up avenging that 6-3, 6-3, 7-6. But Nadal has been so good on clay for so long, and if you want to actually look at the recent matchups they've had on clay, Nadal has done extremely well in recent memory, as in each of the last three clay court meetings, Nadal has only dropped one set, and he's covered this minus 1.5 game spread each time. They've faced off in the French Open before. Nadal's never lost. And at the end of the day, Djokovic, I do think that even though there is a day off, I do think the extra 2 sets he had to play against Tsitsipas is not going to help him in the long term, especially since these rallies between the two of them should lead to this match taking a pretty long time for each individual point. But Nadal, I do expect to eventually wear down Djokovic with the topspin that has made Nadal so famous. And I simply think that even though Djokovic I do love as a player, I simply just think that at minus 1.5 games for Nadal on his favorite surface against the guy who just had to go 5 sets in his previous match, definitely a solid value play here at minus 115. So the play of the day, once again, here for Saturday, October 10th, is going to be on Rafael Nadal minus 1.5 games at -115 on DraftKings. And that is for the French Open final against Novak Djokovic. That's been the installment of Scott's Selections. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.